Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Danielle, aka Stitcherista here on YouTube, and today is Tuesday, May 10th. And it's about lunchtime. I'm gonna have lunch when I get off of this video. Job today doesn't start till 2 o'clock. And that actually really worked out because I had a dental cleaning appointment that I just got back from. So my original appointment was last Monday, and because of being sick, I had to reschedule. So it was today at 10:30, and then she was 15 minutes late because of the patient before. Not a problem. It's fine. She said I'm doing really good with my teeth and gums, so that's good. Yeah, need to keep these choppers in tip-top shape as long as I can, right? Because man, dental work is expensive. Holy shit. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know this, but my two back teeth are gold crowns. Gold. Because what I was doing was I grind my teeth at night, so I've been wearing a night guard for, my God, 20 years now. And before I knew I needed a night guard, I was cracking my back teeth. And I did that twice, and the dentist said, we should put gold crowns because you're not going to crack those. And at that time, and now this was many years ago, they were $500 a piece. And man, I had to put it like, they have a dental credit card. It's called like Care Credit. I had to put it on that. I didn't have $1,000. No. Now I can't imagine what they are. Probably something crazy. But they've served me very well since then. Haven't had any issues. So I'm very diligent. I use a water pick. Yeah, I'm really, yeah. Take care of your teeth and gums. Yeah. So just got back from doing that. And I did do some stitching yesterday. I know. Yeah, let's go. Because I hadn't done stitching in a while. Now remember, I'm working on Heart and Hands Red Round Sampler. And I am stitching mine on pink frost perforated paper with DMC Color Variations 4200. Very pretty. Red and pinks and oranges. So here is my progress. And I have, that's because I have the needle, like I was in the middle of when I stopped. So here is my progress. So I got done quite a bit yesterday. I got done like this. I got done a bunch. I stitched a bunch yesterday while listening to the newest episode of Something Was Wrong on their podcast. Now, I'm still debating whether I'm going to cut this into a circle. I think I am for finishing in my junk journal because you could do it like that. So, and paper is very easy to cut. Well, I don't want to say easy, but it's easier to cut it into a good circle than it is fabric. So I think I'm going to do it. I mean, once you commit, you got to do it. What I'll probably try to do is draw an outline of where I want to cut so then I know where I'm cutting. Do you know what I mean? I'm debating though, because I could still keep it square. Whoops, didn't want to show you the pattern. I could still keep it square because I really like this washi tape and just have it be a circle. It doesn't matter. So I'll have to see. I'll have to see what I wind up feeling like doing when it gets to that point. Okay. I do have a talking point. Do I have any OMG moments? I don't think I do. I haven't been like diligently looking. You know what I mean? Okay, here's an OMG moment. Someone thrifted this. They found this at a thrift store. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I think we would be hard pressed to leave that in a thrift store, right? Look at that. I mean, that's solidly stitched. Dude, isn't that gorgeous? I'd be finding a place in my house to hang that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, now I did save something. All right, one more thing. This is, I think this is a Gold Dimensions kit. It only took them a month to stitch this. Holy shit. This is solidly stitched. A month? That probably would take me a year to do that. Looks gorgeous though, doesn't it? Love, love, love. I love the trees. The trees are my favorite. It's gorgeous. You know that was like some blended colors in there for sure. But okay. So the talking point. Someone asked a question in one of the Facebook groups that said, just curious as to what affordable things people use to hold their patterns vertical. Laying on a pillow with a glare from my light is not working for me. And she's using like a regular clipboard. I have had so many different things. You can have the magnetic board and there's like a little stand that you can put it on. When I work on a Q-snap, I will put my pattern directly on my fabric. But my favorite thing to use is this. And someone suggested this. This is the Knitter's Pride. I will link it down below because I got mine from Amazon. So it shuts flat like a book. And what was nice was I was able to shut whatever project I was working on fit in here flat. But this is padded. And then when you open it up, there's actually a pocket where you could put scissors or needles or whatever. But this fits here. There's two different settings you can do. And it comes with magnets. It came with these two and then like a long strip. And then you can hold your pattern like I hold my pattern on here. It's great. And I think I want to say it's $16, $20, something like that. Well worth it. But people have, there's lots of different things out there you can use. Okay. Let me know down below, what do you use to hold your pattern? People have some unique things, right? All right. I thought today we'd do a true crime story. We haven't done one of those in a while. And this one is called, this is another cold case, so it's solved. And this one is called Cold Storage. In Newport Beach, California in the early 1990s, Denise Huber was living a good life. Well, poor Denise is probably not gonna, I'm trying to adjust my iPad. Okay. Denise was 23 years old, a gorgeous brunette with a vivacious, outgoing personality. Recently, she had graduated from the University of California, Irvine, with a degree in social sciences. She had big plans for her future, and no one would have bet against her. For now, though, she was still living at home and working a part-time waitressing job at the spaghetti factory. The spaghetti factory, I would like that. Love pasta. On the night of June 3rd, 1991, Denise was to attend a Morrissey concert in Inglewood with her boyfriend, Stephen Horrocks. However, Steve had to beg off at the last moment due to work commitments and asked a mutual friend, Robert Calvert, if he would go with Denise instead. Robert said yes, and the arrangements were made. Denise would pick him up at his home in Huntington Beach, and they would drive to the concert venue from there. And the evening turned out to be a blast. After the show ended at 11:30, Denise and Robert drove to a bar in Long Beach and stayed until closing time. She eventually dropped him off just after 2 a.m. and then started on the short drive home. The journey should have taken her less than 10 minutes, traveling State Route 73, a well-lit toll road. But Denise did not make it home that night. Oh, man. When her mom peeked into her room the next morning, she saw that her daughter's bed had not been slept in. Her mom was not unduly concerned by this. She assumed that Denise had crashed at her friend Tammy's house, something she had done many times in the past. This is a long story. I just glanced. Okay. But when Denise was still not home by the time her parents returned from work that evening, they did begin to worry. And that level of concern was ramped up a notch when they called Tammy and found that she hadn't seen Denise. The next call to Robert Calvert elevated this further. Robert confirmed that Denise had dropped him off at home and then driven away. The next call that the Hubers made was to the police. And in the meantime, Denise's friend Tammy got into her car and headed for the 73 freeway, intending to drive the route Denise would have taken, and it was she who found Denise's Honda sedan abandoned at the roadside with a flat. Oh, man. And it got even worse than that. When police officers inspected the car, they found a pair of pantyhose discarded on the front seat. Ugh. A police helicopter and a canine team were then brought in to expand the search. The dogs immediately picked up the scent but lost it some 75 yards down the road, suggesting that Denise had been driven away in another vehicle. Had she done so of her own free will? Had she been forced? Nothing at the scene offered an answer to those questions. And so the police turned their attention to Denise's inner circle. Robert Calvert was questioned and repeated the story he had earlier told Denise's parents, and he agreed to take a polygraph, and he passed. Denise's boyfriend Steve was also interviewed but had an alibi and was never seriously considered a suspect. Other lines of inquiry also came up. Empty. The investigation had barely gotten underway and already it was in trouble. The days, weeks, and months that followed were a waking nightmare for Denise's grieving parents, Iona and Dennis, and for her brother Jeff. Their happy family life was gone. In its place, there was frustration, impotent rage, unquenchable sorrow. Yeah, I can't imagine if you cannot find your child. That has to be supremely awful. I can't even imagine what that's like. Iona and Dennis appeared on television to make a despairing plea for their daughter's safe return or for information regarding her whereabouts. They met regularly with detectives desperate for any sliver of hope. Always the answer was the same. Investigators were doing the best they could with the scant clues that they had. This was always going to be a case with long odds of closure. Eventually, the police were forced to call it. Because new cases come up, right? The case had gone cold and there were no leads left to follow. So we next pick up the story 3 years later and nearly 400 miles away in Prescott, Arizona. The date is July 13th, 1994, and Elaine and Jack Court have just arrived at the home of a local handyman named John Familaro. Elaine and Jack were a retired couple who sold paint sundries at local swap meets to make a bit of extra cash. It was at one of these meets that they met Familaro, who said that he had some extra inventory that he wanted to sell. And the price he quoted had seemed reasonable, and so Jack and Elaine had decided to check it out. However, this visit would elicit an unexpected reaction from Elaine. The minute that they arrived at the neat 3-bedroom home, she felt uneasy. Trust your spidey sense, let me tell you. Trust it. And here's a little side story. So I forgot to mention this a while ago. I don't know if this person was legit or if they watch my channel. So I have a lot of followers on Instagram, something like 7,000, right? Of course, I don't know all 7,000 people. You can't. So, and mind you, there's been a rash of accounts being hacked by people sending links and direct messages that you click on. So this person who, it looks like they were a diamond painter, I looked at their profile and they had just pictures of diamond paintings, but it was only like 6 or 7 pictures from what I could see. And I didn't know this person from comments on my channel or from any interaction whatsoever. They asked me to vote for them in this. They were trying to be an online ambassador for skincare or something. And they asked me to vote for them, and I just ignored the first message. And I was like, I don't know you. Like, to just willy-nilly go ahead and vote for you when I don't know you at all? No. So a couple days later, they sent me the praying hands emoji, like, please vote for me. And then I started asking some questions. I said, is there a website I can go to? Because I would go to my PC and click on a website and vote if you want me to do it that way. I said, because I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to click on any links in an Instagram message because there are scammers and hackers out there. And they come back and they said, LOL, this is legit. Well, I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't a hacker say that? Of course they would. And I just did not feel comfortable. Like my spidey sense was tingling. I just did not feel comfortable. They said, I'll send you the entry and then you can screenshot it and I'll send it to my boss or whatever. And I was like, what? The whole thing seemed so bizarre. If that person is watching, I'm sorry if it was legit, because what I wound up doing was I just blocked them. I just blocked them, and so I didn't get any more messages or anything. It just seemed too bizarre. It just seemed, and I was just trusting. And I told Bill, I said, I felt kind of bad for blocking them, but then he was like, don't feel bad. Like, if you don't feel right about something, don't feel pressured or bullied into doing it. Okay. So the minute that they arrived at the neat 3-bedroom home, Elaine felt uneasy. There was a Ryder hire truck parked off to the side, sitting on flats and with grass sprouting up around its wheels. An electrical extension cord ran from the house and into the vehicle. Looking at the truck caused goose flesh to run up Elaine's arms despite the heat of the day. She was happy to conclude her business and drive away from there. The minute she and Jack were rolling, she took out a notepad and jotted down the Ryder truck's license plate number, which she had memorized. Then she asked Jack to drive to the nearest police station. The police report that Elaine Court filed that day was for possible theft. The hire truck had obviously been standing on Famillaro's property for some time, which meant that it had probably been rented using false credentials and never returned. And this would indeed prove to be the case. When a deputy at the Yavapai County Sheriff's Department ran the plates, he found that the truck had been reported stolen in Orange County, California 6 months earlier. Officers were then dispatched to the residence to question John Famillaro. No one was home when they arrived, but the deputies noticed some chemicals stacked up against the side of the truck and an extension cord running into the back of it. Believing that they had stumbled on a drug lab, they made a call back to headquarters, and within an hour, a narcotics team had arrived at the scene, armed with a search warrant. Oh boy, what are they going to find in there? The cargo doors of the truck were secured with a heavy padlock, which had to be removed with a bolt cutter. The officers then threw the doors open, allowing a vaguely unpleasant odor to waft out. Ugh. Inside was a large chest freezer, and it was this that the extension cable was powering. Still believing that they had uncovered a drug lab, the officers opened the lid. Inside, they found a large plastic bag and, worryingly, what looked like blood frozen into the ice at the bottom of the chest. An officer produced a clasp knife and slit open the plastic bag, and inside he could make out the shape of a human arm. Oh my God. The bag contained the naked body of a young woman. She was curled into a fetal position, her hands cuffed behind her back. Duct tape had been wound around her head, covering her face from eyebrows to chin. This tape, as it turned out, was holding her skull together. What? Ah! The autopsy would later reveal that she had suffered 31 vicious blows to the head, most likely inflicted with a claw hammer. It would also confirm that she had been raped. I can't with that. That autopsy, though, lay in the future. For now, the police had an unnamed homicide victim in cold storage and urgently needed to find the owner of the property, John Joseph Famillaro. Famillaro made that easy for them. They were still stringing crime scene tape when he arrived at his house. With shock, I'm sure. Brought down to the station, Famillaro seemed eerily calm as he answered questions, remarkably accommodating. Then a detective started asking about the corpse in the freezer, and Famillaro clammed up and asked for an attorney. He was then charged with murder and with the theft of the hire truck. How are you going to get out of that? While all of this was going on, the victim's body had been transported to the medical examiner's office for examination and possible identification. Crime scene investigators also converged on Famillaro's home to hunt for evidence. What they found was troubling. Various weapons were strewn about, including a claw hammer encrusted with blood and hair. There were also several items of women's clothing, several purses, fuck me, and a collection of Social Security cards, all of them belonging to attractive young women. Investigators were beginning to believe that they had snared a serial killer, and their next find only reinforced that theory. Famillaro had been excavating a hidden chamber in his basement. They believed that it was intended as a holding cell for victims. As the Yavapai County Police expanded their inquiry, they began to get reports from other agencies of women who had terrifying encounters with John Famillaro. One victim had broken free of Famillaro while he was trying to strangle her and had fled naked into the desert to escape him. Others reported that Famularo had handcuffed them to a bed and sexually tortured them. All of these women immediately picked Famularo from a photo lineup as their attacker. Wow, he's been busy. And then there was that collection of purses and Social Security cards. One of those belonged to Denise Huber, now missing for 3 years from Orange County, California. It was by this method that Denise's name appeared on the radar as a potential match for the frozen female corpse, and fingerprints would confirm that match. Denise Huber had finally been found. So how was it that Denise had fallen into the psychopath's hands and ended up here 400 miles from home? Investigators believe that she had gotten a flat on her way home that night, and most likely she had left her vehicle and started walking to a gas station to call for help. And there were plenty along the route. However, she encountered John Famularo instead, cruising the darkened streets looking for a victim. More than likely, he had offered to help, then struck her on the head with a hammer, handcuffed her, and dragged her into his car. Famularo was running a house painting business out of a rented warehouse in Orange County at the time. He was also living in the unit, and this was where he had brought Denise. This was confirmed when crime scene techs sprayed the site with luminol, and it immediately lit up, revealing that copious amounts of blood had been spilled there. Denise was gagged with duct tape and subjected to a protracted sexual assault before her assailant eventually ended her life by beating her to death with a hammer. How do you, as the parent of that woman, how do you get over that? I don't know how you ever get over that. One question remains, though. Why did Famularo hold on to the body for so long, putting himself in danger of discovery and arrest? The answer is both macabre and disconcerting. It is a well-documented fact that serial killers frequently hold on to keepsakes from their victims. In Famularo's case, he decided to hold on to the victim herself. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing either. This was pre-planned. That chest freezer he had used to store the corpse, he had bought it several days before he abducted and killed Denise. John Famularo went on trial for Denise Huber's murder in July 1994. He entered a not guilty plea but was convicted anyway. During the sentencing phase, his attorney pleaded mitigating circumstances, citing childhood abuse at the hands of his religious fanatic mother. So that means you have the license to kill people? No. The jury rejected that plea and sent Famularo to death row. Given California's current moratorium on capital punishment, he is more likely to spend his life behind bars than to keep his date with the needle. Anyone who has experienced a loss as monumental as the Huber family will tell you that there is no closure. Iona and Dennis Huber suffered greatly during the 3 years that Denise was missing. They suffered greatly when her body was discovered, extinguishing whatever faint hope they might have held of seeing her alive again. The pain inflicted by the loss of their beloved daughter will remain a part of who they are for the rest of their lives. The only tiny solace they have is that they were able finally to lay her to rest, and Denise's headstone is inscribed with the words, "You will always be loved." I don't know as a parent how you get over that. You don't get over it. You don't. But to know your child died in that horrific way would just be the most heartbreaking thing. I can't imagine. Okay. How are we going to continue to unfuck ourselves in 2022? Stop worrying about what the other person is doing and start focusing on how you can learn to be in that relationship. That reminds me of that movie Fireproof. Have you ever seen that with Kirk Cameron? Where him and his wife, their marriage is failing, and his dad gives him this book that you do one thing a day, I think for 40 days or something. And you do it, and you don't tell the other person you're doing it. And it's such a good movie. It is such a good movie. The power that you have by changing yourself instead of trying to change the other person can be monumental. Think about it, the tiniest change in your interaction with that person will change the course of your relationship. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's about changing yourself, not the other person. Check out that movie if you haven't seen it. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. Okay, I'm going to end here so I can get some lunch. I have an hour and a half, so plenty of time to get this up there and do all that and relax a little bit before work starts. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below. and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing and spending about 25 minutes of your day with me today. And I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.